Bonjour and welcome to the French 1 class. I'm Madame Rumley. You're either the Wednesday or Thursday 11 a.m. Eastern Time class, and this is the lesson for week 22, which should have taken place on either March 1st or March 2nd. And the lesson for this week is les verbes pour le shopping, the verbs for shopping. Le programme pour aujourd'hui est prière, écriture, cultural corner, révision devoir, leçon 18 et devoir. Prayer. Prière. Father, thank you so much for the abilities to have the tech abilities that we have, that I can record class and it could be shown at different times. Everyone can see it and participate at different times, different places. I just ask that you bless this class, that despite it not being interactive, that it would be helpful and efficient for each student. Guide my teaching. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, l'écriture pour aujourd'hui vient de Matthieu 5:14. Matthew 5:14. Vous êtes la lumière du monde. You are the light of the world. You already know what vous... Hold on, let me make this a little thicker. Vous êtes means you are. Formal, you are. Oh, I'm sorry, plural. Christ is talking about Christians. We are, plural, vous êtes la lumière, the light. Now, to help you remember lumière, I think the character that is a candlestick in Beauty and the Beast is named Lumière, because he's a light. It's not that creative. Du monde, of the world. I'm trying to think, but I feel like there's one, I can't quite recall it right now. Some root word for monde that can help you remember that it means world. If you think of it, you can email me and I'll share it in next class. But monde means world. I always tell you guys tout le monde, which means everyone, but it literally means all the world. But when we use it in an expression tout le monde, I'm just talking about everyone, like in the email, or everyone in the class. Okay, so again, it's vous êtes la lumière du monde. Matthieu 5:14. One more time. Vous êtes, there's kind of a liaison here, la lumière du monde. Matthieu 5:14. And that's the verse. You are the light of the world. Today's Cultural Corner is one of my favorites of the whole year. I got it from some website. It's things about America as seen from a French person's point of view. There's nothing quite like having a foreign person or in your own culture to teach you about your own culture, or about the way they think, the way the way they do things there. Like if you ever go to France, you'll learn a lot about the way French people do things, because you'll see that they'll do things differently that you didn't even think about anyone ever doing differently. And then you'll come back home and learn more about your own culture as well. So that's basically what this list is. I did not come up with it. I got it from online, but I think it's hilarious and it's very informative. First, waiters asking if everything is okay all the time. In France, waiters usually leave you alone even if you don't want them to. Sometimes you'll literally have to scream for them to notice you. And we talked about this in the cafe section. Waiters in France leave you alone. It's part of their value system. It's a much physically smaller country with lots more people, and there's a greater value on personal space. And it's one of the ways that the French people, show this value of personal space is waiters will not hover at all. In America, the value is more on making sure the the clients in a restaurant feel served and cared for immediately at all times. Um, in France, they literally just they give you more space, so it feels weird and invasive to a French person. But again, it's not better or worse; it's just a difference of values. Um, this one I think is really funny and really accurate. Number two, the obsession with icy cold water. No matter the season, American restaurants seem set on serving only icy cold water. And not just restaurants, I feel like a lot of us drink icy cold water. My American friends told me it's because it's more refreshing, but who wants to brain freeze in December? In France and in Europe, um, they don't drink drinks with ice, not very often. They feel like it waters down the soda you're drinking or juice or whatever. Um, and there's kind of a what would you call it? A lot of people think of ice as being dirty. Um, but no, in America we love our ice. And the same number three, same kind of thing with the air conditioning. Why do you guys love the cold so much? And when you go from 90 degrees outside to 20 degrees inside a supermarket in the summer isn't a little too much? I don't know if you agree with this. I'm definitely the person that's normally too cold all the time, but um, I think we keep our stores very, very chilly, especially like in summertime. And in France, it's not like it's sweltering inside as well as outside, but the AC is never quite as intense as it is in the US. I think it's safe to say that in the US we like things in excess. Number four, tipping. Um, all this math at the end of a meal is just cruel. In France, uh, you don't you don't tip; it's all included. Um, you can tip a waiter if you feel like they um, did an excellent job, and it's not necessarily rude, but some of them will think of it as rude you're um, if you're giving them a tip the same way we do in the United States, where it's like in the US, that's how a waiter makes money is with the tips. And the waiters in France are like, I make enough money. I don't need like your charity almost kind of thing. Unless they do a super excellent job and you want to like give them a little extra, then that communicates something different and they're more okay with it. But in France, it's all included. And let's be honest, if you if you have ever eaten at a restaurant and tipped, it's a whole awkward experience trying to do it right. This is true. This next one of pretty much America versus everywhere else in the world, but especially France. The huge portions of food at restaurants. And then there's this picture, a French family could survive on this pizza for several days, but it's something that like people order for one meal in America. The size cups at restaurants, like for coffee or soda, the water bottle sizes, everything is just significantly smaller in France and in Europe. But like in America, we like our like sodas huge. Um, let me think. The small size cup for soda in the US, like the average small cup, is somewhere like a medium or large in Europe. They don't have as big of portions, and I think they also have healthier bodies in general. But in America, we like our stuff in big portions. Next, the fact that there are no jugs of water on restaurant tables. Instead, waiters refill your glass when it's half empty. I really could do that myself. Um, that's like a silly little detail, but again, it touches on that value of um, service, not just in restaurants, but in all places. In France, the service is much more. Uh, I respect your space. You can do it by yourself, kind of thing. In France, in the U.S., it's much more like you're our client. Let us wait upon you hand and foot because you're paying us. We want you to feel like a princess or prince, kind of thing. Different value system. Very weird when you go from the one you're used to the other one. Um, I'm not advertising that you buy beer or cigarettes or anything like that, but this is a pretty common thing that you see in France, or sorry, rather, I guess in America, pharmacies is where you can also buy beer, cigarettes, soda, and candies. I'm not criticizing it, but it just seems like an odd combination. It's just one of those things where in the US we like our convenience. So if we see a little mini mart, we want to be able to get whatever we want, whether it's people's vices like beer and cigarettes, or like things like soda and candies that people may crave. But in France, there's separate stores for all those things. So it the value is not on convenience in Europe at all. When it comes to roads, when it comes to stores, when it comes to anything like that. Um, in France, the pharmacy is just for medicine and like um, body products like lotion and like and other things that have to do with taking care of your body essentially. Um, and you can actually talk to a pharmacist about your condition and be prescribed medicine at a pharmacy instead of having to go to a doctor first. Whereas like in the US, a pharmacy is just a same thing as a convenience store kind of thing almost. And um, difference of values again. Uh, this is a huge one. The feeling that the consumer is truly king. So it's actually really, from a French person's point of view, a really refreshing and nice feeling when you come from a country where the consumer is pretty much always in the wrong. Want to return something you bought in France, it's probably not going to happen, and they don't care if the pants they sold you had a hole in the crotch. You should have looked closer. So in the U.S., we have a saying of the customer's always right. Uh, we can return stuff like at Walmart without a receipt or whatever. In France, they don't do that. They don't really return things ever. And if there was something wrong or broken with it, then like too bad, you bought it. Um, totally different way of looking at things. This picture is perfect. An American size car versus a European size car. Not just France, but European. Um, and this is because of what I've talked about us in several other sections of France and Europe being old. The buildings being built before the cars were ever built. Um, they're being just more densely populated. Remember, this the whole country of France can fit inside or nearly inside of the state of Texas. So things in the US are much farther apart. We have bigger freeways. In general, just we drive farther to get to places. And we have bigger, wider roads because they were built after the invention of the car. Whereas in Europe, a lot of things were built when people were walking around or driving carts with horses. So you really cannot survive with a big truck like this in France. Um, but this is pretty common size. So you can see why French people look at Americans and think the excess. But I think it kind of makes sense. Everything's spread out in the US. Um, it seems like a weird one, but it's really, wine is super important to the French people. Super important. Um, which is why this French person wrote in all caps, wine is meant to be savored, not chugged. The size of this bottle is like a regular French person's bottle, but here in the US, you can buy like these enormous ones. So whether or not you drink your parents or whatever, drink wine, um, or think that it's okay to drink wine. The point is that wine is an important part of French culture, and they look at American sizes and think, why is it so big? It's excessive. Um, this one is why pretty much all French people can tell an an American person or tourist immediately. It's because in America, we strangers smile at you all the time. We we smile at people. When we walk past them, we say hello. And in France, like you can still, like in my parents' small town in the south of France, you still say hello to the people walking past you. But you generally, especially in the bigger cities like Paris, mind your own business. Remember the whole like closer proximity. We really protect each other's personal, private space. Um, so you don't always make eye contact and smile at people. Um, but it feels very suspicious to a French person. Like, Why are you smiling at me? I don't Smiling is reserved for friends when we're, like, enjoying each other, and I don't know who you are, kinda thing. But America, that's just our way of being polite. Proms. A tradition completely foreign to us except for what we learned from Hollywood movies. Many French teens are actually pretty jealous about that one. I think this is funny because the word prom comes from the French word promenade, which means to walk. And I think it has something to do with how you, like, enter a party, like a prom. There's, like, a special walk. I'm not completely sure where the root of that is, but it's from a French word. But proms, are just American. They don't have that in other parts of the world, not in France. There's a few of these in this list. People wearing sweatpants outside of the gym and flip-flops outside of the beach. Parisians, people from Paris, wouldn't wear flip-flops and sweatpants to take out their trash. My dad, when we lived in Paris, my dad does construction, as well as being a missionary. He'd do it on the side, and he uh, he and this guy working together had to run to the hardware store for, like, screws or whatever it was, and the man with him changed out of his construction clothes into a nice clean outfit. I don't know if he may have showered, I forget the story, but went to the hardware store. They came back and he put his dirty clothes back on. Like, that that was what was expected. My dad was like, "What are you This is so strange." I don't um Not at all how we do it in the US. People are pretty casual, just kind of wear what they want. In the same way, people in the US wear pajamas out, and that's pretty socially acceptable. Um, in France, it's not. Um, Baby showers, bridal showers, engagement parties, rehearsal dinners. You guys really know how to make use of it. Any excuse to party and get presents. uh, there are so many less occasions in France that they celebrate. I mean, they have their holidays, and they do have like wedding parties, of course, but um, not nearly as many as the US does. We kind of make an event of everything. Commercials on TV every 5 minutes on TV. It's just they're not as often in France. Um, Prices being advertised before tax and feeling cheated when you receive the check. Um, like in France, the sales tax is included. So if you're at a store and you're looking at clothes, the number next to the outfit is what you pay. Um, but in the US, you have to kind of mentally include tax, and it's really surprising if you're not used to that. Restaurants and stores being open 24/7. I think I've mentioned this before, but this is a really important one if you plan on visiting France. Um, this person wrote, "Good luck finding anything open past 5 p.m. in France on a Sunday." Um, People in France, stores close for lunch from 12:30 to about 1:30 or 2. You cannot find an open store of any kind except for maybe a food one. Um, and then after dinner, things are closed as well, or like clothes stores and stuff are all closed in the evenings. And then everything is closed on Sunday. Even the grocery stores. Um, I think the only stores that are ever open, like, really, really late or on Sundays are ones like I've seen in Paris, run by immigrants who aren't super French cultured or something. I don't like little mini mart kind of things on the corners, but like usually you cannot find anything. So this this requires a lot of planning if you ever visit France, that you make sure you don't save your grocery store shopping or food or clothes or whatever it is you need for when something is um, during the lunch break or in the evening. Um, People filling your bags for you at the supermarket. In France, you do your own. There's no bag boy. You do your own. You bring your own bags. You always pay for plastic bags. They don't have paper, and no one fills it. You have to do it yourself. And sometimes they have boxes like at the end of the grocery store that like the food came in went off the truck that you can use, but usually You just bring your own bags and you fill it yourself at the end. So coming to the U.S., a French person coming to the U.S., it's like, wow, someone's filling my groceries for me. It feels like, again, it's that value in America of catering to people who are spending money at your place. And in France, the value is on um, you being able to do things yourself and giving you your own personal space. uh, this is one of the this fact here is one of the reasons why people think the French are rude. Let me explain. The fact that "how are you" often only means hello, and that the person that's asking you doesn't really want to hear about your current state of mind. I don't know about you guys, but I know that where I live and with my group of people, we all say things like, "Hey, how's it going?" Or even if I go on a walk and people walk by, I go, "Hey, how are you doing?" or something. They don't really want to know. They're just saying hello. And in France, um, I think it's safe to say in general they kind of mean more what they say, word for word. So if someone asks you how you're doing, then they're literally asking you how you're doing. Um, it's just that same thing about smiling in public a lot more. Where in Americans, we just kind of we put ourselves out there more to, in being more warm and friendly, and the French people that feels invasive because uh, they would only say those things to people or smile at people that they really are friends with. Um, so it sounds weird when they go to America. Anyways, people drinking their coffee while walking. Coffee should be sipped while sitting at a terrace. This is actually true of, I think, eating on the go as well. I remember, I don't remember where exactly I was. I was in probably the town where my parents live in France, eating a granola bar. People giving me weird looks. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but how I live in the US, we like at least one meal is on the go in the car, or like we just definitely eat and drink on the go. That's like, we love that in the US. We don't stick around in coffee shops or restaurants too long. We get our stuff and we go, and it feels great and productive to be able to drink our coffee while on the go. But in France, you sit and you enjoy it until it's done. Your small portion, you drink it slowly, you eat it slowly. You sit down, you enjoy the sights, you chat up the people next to you or not, and or the people you're with or not, and then you go on your way. And I think some research shows that the French are healthier, and I think it's because they slow down. uh, the price of French cheeses at the supermarket. Cheese should never be this expensive. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to buy French cheese at the grocery store, but I cry when I see it because I personally love Comté. but in France, they have, oh gosh, I forgot the number, hundreds, hundreds of kinds of cheeses. It's one of the staples of their diets. It's one of the courses of every meal. Well, maybe not breakfast. Maybe kind of breakfast, depending. Anyways, they have cheese every single day, and there's several types that people eat every day, and the idea of it being so expensive is just really scandalizing to a French person. And also the other staples. So I think it's safe to say bread, wine, and cheese are the main staples of a French person's diet. So the stereotype is real. So a French person will look at, I like how they wrote this one, the monstrosity you call French bread at the supermarket. This bread has nothing French, and it pains me to think that anyone could think that the French bread that I've had at many grocery stores throughout the U.S. tastes nothing like actual French bread. Um, it's much softer and breadier. A French baguette is, I want to say, like a third of this size, long, maybe twice as long. It needs to have a perfect crunch to it, and it is have a soft inside, but not as fluffy as these. And French bread is always made fresh that day and always goes bad by the end of the day or the next day. Um, you can't keep it. You have to buy it every day. And there's a law in France that has kept the price of bread the same for decades, so that everyone can afford to buy at least bread, something like €1 or 2 a baguette. Well, anyways, That's it. That was like our longest cultural corner ever. But I feel like it's an excellent list of silly little things, little details that really highlight the value system of both Americans and French people, um, compared side by side. And I think we could conclude by saying that in general, the French people, they value um, a privacy, personal space, and letting people do things kind of on their own, um, more than in the US. We're much more like warm and friendly immediately. Um, the French are warm and friendly, definitely, but once you get to know them, only they reserve that just for friends. So, yeah, that's, yeah, difference of values, but still equally valid. All right, let's do some work. Révision devoir. So we're on page 259. This exercise, shopping. Below, oh no, not shopping. Quel vêtement? What we wear often depends on the circumstances, where we are, what we'd be doing, what the weather's like. Complete the following sentences with the appropriate items of clothing. Aujourd'hui, je porte. Le professeur porte. So you can fill these in with your own personal answers. Essentially, there's not like a specific right one. So today, je porte. I could say, let me type. There we go. Un t-shirt blanc et un pantalon noir. Today I'm wearing a white t-shirt and black pants. Le professeur porte. We're not in a physical classroom. You're not looking at me. You don't have to. You can make this up, of course. Une robe verte. Let's pretend your teacher is wearing a green dress. I won't go through this whole thing, but essentially you are just putting to use the vocabulary that you learned for this exercise. L'élève à ma gauche porte. The student at my left is wearing, and here you could have answered like your sister or brother sitting next to you, or just create an imaginary person. Un jean et une chemise jaune, and so forth. Just putting to practice the vocabulary we learned from last week. Exercise number 4, page 261. Qu'est-ce que tu portes? What are you wearing? Ask your classmate what they wear in the following circumstances. Let them use their imagination. So we're given like a a, a place or an activity that we're doing, and then we want to talk about what clothes we wear. So the example here we have is, qu'est-ce que tu portes quand tu joues au tennis? What do you wear when you play tennis? Je porte un t-shirt, un short et des tennis. So we pick the vocabulary that makes the most sense. If you're playing tennis, you would probably wear a t-shirt, shorts, and tennis shoes. So number 1, I'm going to kind of combine the two examples into one complete sentence. So quand je vais, I was thinking in past tense for a second. Quand je vais à la piscine. So when I go to the pool, because I'm start with my premise and then I answer the question of what I wear. Je porte. Quand je vais à la piscine, I had to conjugate aller here because I'm using it in the present tense. Quand je vais à la piscine, je porte un maillot de bain. I wear a swimsuit, which makes sense. It's logical. Aller à la plage. Quand je vais à la plage. When I go to, goodness gracious, la plage. When I go to the beach, je porte, I could say un maillot de bain again. Un maillot de bain. Des lunettes de soleil, sunglasses, et un chapeau, a hat. That's usually what I wear because I get sunburnt very easily. Jouer au basket when you play basketball. Quand je vais, quand je joue au basket, I had to notice here I conjugated jouer. So the premise given to me is in the infinitive, but I have to conjugate as I put it in the present tense, as I use it in the in sentence in practice. Quand je joue au basket, when I play basketball, je porte, I wear un short, un t-shirt, et des baskets. That one was kind of easy. I'd probably wear shorts, t-shirt, and baskets are like sneakers. Travaille dans le jardin, work in the garden. So quand je travaille dans le jardin, je porte. What would I wear when I'm working in the garden? Un pantalon, un t-shirt, et des sandales. Could be anything. Just make sure it makes sense to some point, so, to some degree. So the things that we're kind of focusing on here is first conjugating the verb. Je vais à la piscine. Je vais à la plage. Je joue au basket. Je travaille dans le jardin. And then the second thing is, of course, picking vocabulary that matches the premise that we're using. And then thirdly, make sure that you're using the correct articles. Un pantalon, un t-shirt, des sandales. If you want, you could describe them, like the colors of them, or say that they're small or big or whatever, and those adjectives need to be matching the nouns. So that's that exercise. Page 263. Let's read the directions. Which one was it? Au marché aux puces, at the flea market. You are at the Paris flea market looking for clothes with a French friend. Explain why you are not buying the following items. Use your imagination and expressions from vocabulaire. So we have our example picture here, and then here's the conversation that we'd have. Tu vas acheter le blouson. So here we have the near future. Are you going to buy this jacket? Non, je ne pense pas. No, I don't think so. Pourquoi pas? Why not? Il est trop grand. It's too big. So you can kind of see in these pictures there's something wrong with each of these. You can, again, like the example or the direction said, you can kind of use your imagination. So let's start with number 1. With our picture. Oops. Est-ce que tu vas acheter? Let's see, what was it? Est-ce que tu vas acheter la cravate, the tie? Non, je ne pense pas. No, I don't think so. Pourquoi pas? Why not? Pourquoi pas? And then the reason why we don't. Maybe c'est trop grand. It looks kind of like a big tie. You could say ugly. You could say it's too red. Doesn't matter what your reason is, but pick some reason. Parce que, because, c'est trop grand. Grand, because cravate is feminine. Next, I'm going to do, I think 3 of these to give you the basic understanding. Number 2, we have this picture here. So, le poule. Est-ce que tu vas acheter le poule? Non, je ne pense pas. No, I don't think so. Why not? Pourquoi? Pourquoi pas? Parce que C'est trop calm. This one's definitely too big. Her hands the sleeves are way too big on her hands. Okay, next, number 3. Looks like jeans. And like the example showed, you can do the question in the formal form of Est-ce que tu vas acheter le pot? Or you could just say Tu vas acheter le jean. One's formal, one's informal, but they both are grammatically correct. Non, je ne pense pas. Pourquoi pas? Parce que c'est trop court. They're too short. Maybe I'll do one more. Number 4, the hat. I'll ask the question the informal way again. So, tu vas acheter le chapeau? Non, je ne pense pas. Pourquoi? Oupsies, pourquoi pas? Parce que c'est trop démodé, let's say. It's out of fashion or old-fashioned or not quite right. Okay, so that's that exercise. In this exercise, we're putting to use the correct question using the either the formal form, est-ce que tu vas acheter, or the informal, tu vas acheter, whatever it is, using the near future, va acheter, va acheter, va acheter, va acheter. Are you going to buy the following item? Answering it in the negative using the negative sandwich, asking why not, and then answering because it's say, and then using the vocabulary that we learned to describe clothes, whether they're too short, too long, too big, too small, too much of one thing or another, or maybe it's ugly or pretty or whatever it is. All right, page 263. C'est combien? This exercise. How much do the following items cost? So the question, here's our example here, this picture right here. Combien coûte la veste? How much does this vest cost? Elle coûte 120 euros. So here we're just simply putting to practice asking how much something costs and then answering how much it costs. Oopsies. I made the box way too small. Okay, so number 1 is, let's see, blouson. Combien coûte, oopsies, wrong accent. Combien coûte ce blouson? If you remember ce, and also set, we'll learn about these soon. They mean this. So it's like the difference between how much does the jacket cost and how much does this jacket cost. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, I'm sorry. Pretend I didn't say that. Le blouson. Okay. Combien coûte le blouson? Il coûte... Let's see how much did it cost. 150 euros. 150 euros. Okay, don't forget that when we say it, we either say il or we say elle, depending on whether the noun that we're using a pronoun for is masculine or feminine. So le blouson, when we want to say le blouson as it, we say il. Let's see if there's a feminine one I can do. Let's see. No, they're all kind of masculine, aren't they? Le vélo, l'ordinateur, le portable, l'appareil photo, Impériable. Okay, well, I guess they're all masculine or L apostrophe. But the point is if we said something like combien coûte la jupe, the skirt, then we'd say elle coûte 150 euros. It costs, but it'd be elle feminine because our noun is feminine. Okay, we'll do a couple more. Number 2, we have manteau. Wow, it's expensive manteau. Combien coûte? Or let's use one of our different forms of asking how much something costs. C'est combien pour le manteau? And I could answer c'est or il coûte, what was it, 250? 250 euros. Euro. Okay, next. Number 3, d'imperméable. Combien coûte l'imperméable? Yeah, okay, my bad. Just the first one has an accent. How much does the raincoat cost? Il coûte. How much was it? 200 euros. 200 euros. Okay, pretty simple exercise. But there are several different ways we can ask how much something costs. C'est combien pour or combien coûte are the two main ones. You could also say quel est le prix? Quel est le prix pour, what's number 4? L'appareil photo. And then make sure the second thing we're putting into practice. The first thing, okay, so let me review more clearly. The first thing we're putting into practice is the different ways we can ask how much something is. Combien coûte? C'est combien pour? Quel est le prix pour? And I think those were it, except for just the basic combien. And then your answer, you make sure that your noun, your pronoun here matches the gender of the noun. So I'm saying le blouson becomes il, le manteau becomes il, l'imperméable that's a hidden masculine, it becomes il, and so forth. That we say il coûte, and then saying our, and then the third thing we're putting into practice is how to express price and numbers correctly. So we would say 150 euros, 250, 250, 200, and then euros. Okay, and that's it for the review. Please email me if you have any questions on any of these exercises. It was, the beginning of a unit, so it's mostly vocabulary, not too heavy on the grammar. But if you're confused about how to ask the cost of things, oops, sorry guys for the pop-up. How to ask about the cost of things, or describing the clothes, the adjectives for that. I think that was probably the more complicated parts. Some of these verbs here, but we kind of have been using them. So let me know if you have any questions on any of those, and don't forget all the resources available to you via your online textbook. Okay, I'm gonna stop this video here, and then I'll make a new one for the next lesson.